What's going on, guys? Here it's King Range here, and I'm just back to gonna make you another video about why I think Rainbow Six Siege is dying, and also why I think Rainbow Six Siege devs suck. Um, One of the main reasons why I believe that the game is dying is obviously if you look at the numbers of the game, every single time a new operation would come out, say any of them really, they tend to boost player base by about 30%. 30% more players come back to the game and will play the game. Now there's a whole bunch of reasons for it. Obviously, there's new update, there's new content, there's a new operator usually, and maybe a new map if we're lucky. Granted, we haven't had a new map in 2.5 years, 3 years almost now. But it tends to bring more players back to the game and refresh it a little bit. Now, with this most recent one, North Star, there was actually a decrease in players when they launched it by 5%. So usually it's a 30% increase. It went down by 5% in terms of player base. And then on top of that, just yesterday, they released a new patch which nerfed Zophia's recoil. Now, they've been doing this for a little bit with a bunch of different operators. So you have Zofia, we have Jaeger that had that, but there's also a few more. You also had Buck was changed. Quite a bit of other people. Ash was more notably. Basically, they took operators which were loved by a lot of people, and they just look at it and they're like, okay, well, this person is played a lot because a lot of people like this person. Let's nerf them to where they don't like it. And this is why I don't understand Ubisoft's um, thought process on this. So Ubisoft would much rather take a character that people like with the weapons that people like. The reason why the people play Ash is because of the weapon she has. It is a very good weapon. Now, you take that and you nerf it into the ground. That's whenever people start leaving your game in droves. Ash is one of the most popular characters before the update where she got nerfed. Now, they're losing players. And I wonder why. Because if you had your favorite operator, such as Ash, who, speaking of which, who, really enjoyed you really enjoyed playing, now you fucking hate the game because you Ash was your player to go to. That was your one that you went to have fun with. Now, if you look at mine's Zofia. They just nerfed Zofia hard with her recoil. Now you can't even hit anybody at point blank range because her recoil is so bad. She literally has a useless gun now. So, what the fuck am I gonna do? Well, I don't like any of the other operators for the most part. I mean, yes, some of them are decent, but like Zofia was my go-to. As you can see, I have 145 hours of in-game time played with her, and she was my main by far, by an absolute country mile. What does that make me want to do? Does that make me want to play the game more? No, because she's fucking absolutely useless now. You can't kill anybody at all. If you're anywhere within 5 feet, yeah, sure, you can probably kill them because the recoil won't matter that much. But if you're in a semi, like, mid-medium range to long-range engagement, you're gonna fucking lose that shit every time. Spawn peeker? Nope, you're dead. Doesn't matter what you do. You have to hit that first shot headshot, otherwise you're done. So what I don't understand is, like, hey, Zofia is a very used operator. How can we make that not as good? Well, one of the reasons why she's very good is because she's very good all around. She has a nice gun, which a lot of the attackers have nice guns. But she has 2 impacts and 2 concussions, which is 4 projectiles that you can use to get rid of things, ADSs, wall shields, whatever, right? So she was a very versatile operator, especially in competitive play. Now, this is what I don't understand is they're like, hey, this is the reason why people like her, and they're gonna go ahead and take that away from them and be like, in my opinion, take away her concussions and leave her impacts, or take away her impacts and leave her concussions. One of the two. I recommend keeping the impacts because that's what people need to get rid of utility. In my opinion, that would have worked way better. Keeping her gun the same would have been keeping the player base happy. Because, like, the one thing that made me quit Siege quite a bit, as you can see, I haven't been playing competitively at all. I jump on, play a few, get placed, and then that's it. And my MMR. I played a few games. Like, I'm not even ranked this season. I played, I think, 7. Yeah, 7 matches, and I don't give a fuck. Like, I lost interest in the game because the operators that I enjoyed playing are now completely useless, and I feel useless, and I don't like doing that, and or relearning a new insane recoil that is so bizarre it's not even funny. Um, and on top of that, so they're wondering why people are running away from their game, like why people are quitting in droves. On top of that, like they're consistently not listening to the community. One of the reasons why I left is because they changed the game way too much. How many times has Buck changed in the meta in terms of like what he has on him? So Buck, right, had impacts nades. Sorry. Now he has flashes. Then he went back to smokes and then nades and then like it. Fucking pick one, stick to it, figure out what the fuck works with him fine, and then leave him alone. And if he might be slightly overpowered in one way or another, maybe you should look at your other operators and figure out, hey, well, if this player, say Zofia, is played more, how can we make other people viable? AKA, let's say Dokkaebi. Dokkaebi has a decent gadget. Her gadget's pretty dang good. If you can get those intel from those cameras, you're set. She's a good operator. The thing that holds her back is her weapons. Her weapons are absolute trash cans. You have a DMR, which, it can be okay, but it's not very good. Then you have a fucking Basti. Basti is a meme gun. Atlas is not a primary weapon, like for reals. Like this is just a meme character basically right now in the meta of Siege. Other than that, she's fairly balanced flashes and smokes. They just need a better gun for her. So add an AR or something like that, or SMG, something that's not this. But in general, they don't understand that. So like, oh, why aren't people playing these other operators? If you look at all the pick'ems, the pick'em rates and stuff like that, it's because they're not balanced very well. Now, it doesn't mean you need to nerf the ones that are balanced. You need to buff the ones that aren't. Maybe with Finka, they get a permanent health boost. How many operators on defense heal you? There's at least two right now. We have Doc and we have the new one, which is I don't know, remember her name. North Thunderbird. You have Thunderbird. They can heal you. Why don't you just make Finka a permanent health boost like a Doc, where it heals everybody 30%? Now make it to where if you are at over 130%, you can't get healed anymore to make it a little bit more balanced. Because otherwise, you could just spam all three of them immediately, and you're up to 190 HP. But yeah, there is no attacker that can heal. Why not make it that way? That would make Finka a lot more viable, especially in pro play. If you could start the game and have everybody at 130 HP, that's a huge advantage. Now, granted, you might need to tweak that 30 health boost, um, depending on what HP they're at. So say like, oh, if they're at 80, they get 20. And if they're at 100, you get 20 or whatever. Say if you're below 80, you get 30 HP. And if you're above 80, you can only get 20. And if you're at 100, you only get 20 or something like that. You know, like you can change the values on that to make it more viable. Because otherwise, she's kind of useless, give or take, for the most part. Like Capitao, he's decent. He's decent. He's good in competitive play, but he could be better. He could have more stuff that would be useful. So like his gun, it's decent. It's okay. Maybe increase the rate of fire on it. That would make it a much better gun. And then all of a sudden, Capitao becomes much more viable. Throw in another operator. Let's say somebody who's fairly useful or useless right now. Sledge or Glass has his place in certain areas, mostly in casual. But one thing that I do whenever I play with him is his recoil is nuts. Like, I understand why it is nuts, but maybe make it a little bit easier. Or make it to where he has something else to use. I don't know. I haven't really thought that one through 100% yet. Uh, see, Blackbeard's basically useless right now. Ging, maybe make her AR a little bit faster firing or something. Like, in general, maybe gave her an actual SMG besides the one she has now. Like maybe give her another primary or something. Like give Callie something different. But in general, like they just need to relook at other operators that aren't as viable. And more specifically on defense. Defense is where they need to focus a lot of their attention on. Some of these operators are OP as fuck. For some reason, Ashe is quieter than a Cav using Silent Step. Why? Don't fucking know. Cav should be silent whenever she's silent stepping, but she's not. Another area. So like Ela, she was fucking useless for a while because her gun had so much recoil because they nerfed it so hard into the ground that no one wanted to play her because you couldn't hit a thing 10 feet in front of you. good for close quarters, but yeah, they buff her a little bit and they make it sure she's not as bad at recoil, and all of a sudden she's viable now. She's useful. People can actually enjoy her again. And it's like Jaeger. Jaeger got nerfed hardcore. No one likes playing him anymore because he can't hit fucking anything. Granted, it's not as bad as, say, Ashe or Zofia right now, but you see what I mean. Frost, another prime example, has her AR, whatever the fuck it's called, the 9mm C1. It's a submachine gun. It's a decent gun. It's not bad. It's basically, it acts like an AR. It does a lot of damage and pretty good. Now, they added a 1.5, gave her a shield and shotgun, and she became hella viable. Like, really good for competitive play. And it's the best state she'd been in a while. Now, maybe take away that shield and give her the shotgun with her frost traps and the 1.5. Would have been better. Don't change the weapons. Another thing you can do is maybe think about adding reticle changers or changing your reticles. So I used to play the majority of my time back in the day when ACOGs were on most everybody. When Doc had an ACOG, when etc. Everybody had an ACOG for the most part. Now I'm not talking like day one. I'm talking like, right before they did the nerf and took them all away and added the whatever 1.5 and 2.0. Make it to where instead of having that dot, make it to where they can change it so it's still 2 times zoom, but added the ACOG reticle. Or maybe if you have an ACOG on somebody, you can change the ACOG reticle to a dot, vice versa. Now obviously that might make some problems, or it might make your fan base a little bit happier, but. Anyways, just my thoughts on it. I think Ubisoft hasn't been listening to their fan base. One of the reasons why I quit, I totally forgot to go over this with you, but one of the reasons why I quit personally on Siege is the fact that they are constantly changing the game so much, and it pisses me off. And I'm going to go into that on the next video. For now, this is just based off of operators. I will go over in depth on why I quit the game over other reasons besides the operators here in a little bit. I'm going to post another video. It should be my next video. If you like the content so far, I'm just starting off on YouTube. Please subscribe. It means a lot to me. Going to be posting videos a lot more frequently now than I was before. And hope you guys enjoy. So if you don't mind, hit that subscribe button. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. And watch my next video on whether or not or why I quit Siege.